My name is Brandon Doman. I'm the founder of the Strangers Project, and I live in Brooklyn, New York. I run the Strangers Project, and this is a collection of anonymous journal entries that people write. I go to public spaces, whether it's a park or a coffee shop, and I set up with a sign, and the sign invites people to share anything about their life as long as it's true. So strangers come up and they ask questions, they read through other people's stories, and eventually they end up writing something about their life. And some of them there's funny stories, there's tragic stories. The idea is to see what people will share when you give them a blank canvas and ask them, tell me anything about your life. I collect thousands of these stories, and when I go home, I read through them and I end up sharing them through our website, strangersproject.com, and through our various social media outlets. But the main goal is just finding different ways to share these stories, so people aren't just writing them down, but other people are reading them as well. So I was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and that's actually where I also started the project. And I was taking a summer off, just enjoying having finished my degree, and I decided to start the project. I didn't really have much of a plan for it. I just took a marker and a notebook, and I wrote a sign that said, "Please stop and share your story." And within minutes, these two women stopped by and asked what I was doing, and I told them I wasn't quite sure yet, and they wrote, and about 10 more people wrote on that first day. And I went home and I read them, and they were amazing stories. There was some funny ones, some sad ones, some adventurous ones, and I knew I had to go out and do it again. The ones that affect me the most are, I guess, two different kinds. One of them where somebody finally opens up and is talking about either something they've struggled with in their life, whether it's some kind of self-harm or some kind of isolation, and then for them to either admit it for the first time to themselves or to express their desire to change it. I think that always affects me. And stories of survival in general. I get a lot of people who have dealt with things like cancer or other diseases, and they talk about their struggles, and to see their strength that's come out of all of it is really moving for me.
I am 20 years old and go to an elite university. I come from money, a good home, and a happy family. So why I've never been happy?
My eldest brother died a year ago today. Our relationship was strangely fragile over the last 6 months of his life, our last communication being 3 weeks before he died.
Last night, my roommate lost her virginity at the age of 20. That's my age as well, but not my story. I was raped when I was 15, and I thought the man loved me.
Dad, I might not remember your voice or exactly what your eyes look like, but I'm going to make you proud.
So people do share some really intense stuff sometimes, and there are cries for help in some of the stories. And it's always been a really big challenge because I am unable to connect individual stories with individual people. And that does become a challenge if somebody shares something, with like intent for self-harm or something like that. But my biggest hope is that I really believe that having an outlet is never a bad thing. I found that people want to be heard. There's a lot of themes that come through these stories. There's so many different topics, and even now, 6,000 stories later, I'm still finding new stuff every time I come home. But I think the one thing that really ties them together is it's all these people making a choice to share something about themselves. Looking back, I can hardly believe that, a young me started this. I was pretty shy growing up, so I think, a teenage me would have been horrified at the idea of talking to literally tens of thousands of strangers. But I decided to try it because I was curious, and I knew if I didn't try to satisfy that curiosity, I would be not happy with myself. So I tried it, and it's been the best decision I've ever made. If I were going to do one thing differently, it would be talking to strangers sooner. And I don't just mean through the project, but I mean in life in general. I really think that I've never had a bad experience. I think people are generally really receptive. So any of those times earlier in life when I might have felt a little too quiet or a little too shy to speak up, I wish I would have, but I don't regret it. I just think it's something that it took time to learn, and I'm happy that I was able to find that lesson at a relatively young age. all the best parts of my life have come from like pushing your comfort zone, and I'm really grateful for all the opportunities I've had to push those boundaries, because I think they've really shaped who I am now, and pretty happy with it.